Have you heard about Global Poker? Global Poker is the fastest growing card room in the US today, and it's available online at globalpoker.com. Global Poker is a social poker site that offers safe and secure cash-out options by using their unique and patented sweepstakes model. Players can compete in big guaranteed tournaments, jackpot sit-and-goes, or cash games featuring Hold'em, Omaha, and even Crazy Pineapple. Don't wait. Check out Global Poker today.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome back to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 70, featuring Australia's Jackie Glazier. Although Jackie played cards growing up, it wasn't until well after the poker boom and Joe Hachem's WSOP main event win that she got involved in poker, forcing her way into the guy's local home game. She had originally gone to school and earned a degree in education, but didn't really want to teach. So while looking for the next step in her life, she started going to the casinos to play low stakes. After a month of good results, she figured she might as well keep going. And 3 good months after that, she figured she might as well make it a career. Jackie got a big bankroll boost at the 2012 Melbourne Championship Series, finishing second in the opening event and then winning the main event. She then took that newfound confidence to Vegas, where she finished second in a $3,000 no-limit hold'em event for $459K. It was a massive score, but it was also disappointing for her to fall short of the WSOP Gold Bracelet. She would later get the elusive win in the WSOP Ladies event in Europe. Glazier was also once the last woman standing in the WSOP main event, finishing 31st for $230,000 back in 2013. Last year, she was featured on Australian Survivor and spent a month competing on the show in Fiji. You'll get to hear some funny stories about that, including why she didn't tell anyone that she was a poker player and the crazy bluff she tried to run instead. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here's my conversation with Jackie Glazier. I'm here with Jackie Glazier. Jackie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so pleased. You're the first Australian I've had on the podcast.
Really?
Yes. I haven't reached out to Joe yet or some of the others, but obviously I want to get you on first because you're one of the more fascinating people in poker, despite what you may say.
I hope everyone can understand my accent then. We'll see how we go.
Oh, my God. Can we talk about the Australian accent for a second? Is it weird being in America and talking with an Australian accent? Does everyone mimic it back to you? I'm so tempted to. Even like when I say Melbourne, I want to say Melbourne. You know what I mean? Like part of me like just wants to.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I actually find it a little... I don't love the Australian accent, personally. I think it's a little bogan, we call it. And I'm probably...
Bogan, I looked that up.
Yes.
That means like redneck?
Yeah, kind of.
Like hick kind of thing?
But everyone seems to love it here. I first travelled here many, many years ago as a 15-year-old when I was like boy crazy. And if I saw a group of boys that I thought looked, all right looking, I would make sure I talked really loudly and got their attention every time.
Oh,
great.
You knew the accent worked to your advantage right away.
Yes, very early, yes. But it doesn't work so well at home, no.
My roommate in college was raised in Florida, but his father was British, and he looked just like Hugh Grant. So he would really turn on the English accent whenever we were at parties and stuff, and it worked perfectly. Didn't matter what he looked like. He was working that night.
I'm married now. I don't need to use it as a pickup.
Yes, we'll talk about James in a bit. But let's start with you. Born in Melbourne.
Yes.
And grew up kind of like the all-around athlete, huh?
Yeah, I've always loved sports. My parents always encouraged me to be getting outside, and I played a lot of tennis and was always into like windsurfing, the beach, or bodyboarding, like anything outdoors. Yeah, was my thing.
Yeah, and were you good?
To be honest, I'm kind of a natural athlete.
This is where you get to brag a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people beg to differ now, but growing up, I was definitely a natural athlete, very good at, a lot of sports, especially hand-eye coordinated.
Well, you have the height, so
Yes.
I'm guessing volleyball, basketball.
Volleyball. I've played, so many. I mean, we could
Golf
run through
came
everything.
later.
Yeah, golf came out lots later. I
Yeah.
avoided it for a long time. It frustrated me.
It still frustrates,
Yeah,
right?
it does. Drives me crazy.
That's my Achilles heel right now. I read that you studied physics and math. So were you a studious person, or?
I actually studied physical education and mathematics, so sports kind of to be a phys ed teacher and a mathematics teacher.
Was that the goal?
That was the goal, but only because I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left high school. So I literally just picked subjects that interested me, and kind of the only path I could see from them was being a teacher. But as it happened, I did teaching rounds and I hated the kids. So that was a problem.
Older of two children, right?
Yeah.
Younger sister?
Yes.
Okay, and Dad was a policeman.
Yes, he was. He worked for the search and rescue squad. So while he was a policeman, he wasn't out on the streets. He was more...
He wasn't giving parking tickets.
No, he was more rescuing people when they were lost in the bush. And then he had some terrible jobs too, like if a kid had drowned and stuff like that.
Notifying
like
families.
and finding bodies in water and things like that, or
horrifying.
Getting weapons out of lakes and stuff like more outdoorsy stuff as well. Yeah.
On the scene guy. He was,
Yes. Out kind of, yeah.
I bet he has some stories. And mother was a banker, huh?
She did a lot of things. She worked for sporting clothing. She was a sporting clothing rep for a long period of time. Was always out, like hanging out, taking photos with like Boris Becker and Pat Cash and things like that.
Cool.
And I'd cut her out of the pictures and put them up on my wall. I kept telling her to keep out of the pictures if she's going to take them, she should not stand in them. And then later in life, she worked for the National Australia Bank.
Cool. And then obviously you didn't know what you wanted to do, but did they have an urge for you, a push in one direction?
No, they just wanted me to be happy, and ideally they probably didn't want me mooching off them for the rest of my life, so they would prefer me to make money. But no, at the end of the day, they never pushed me in any direction. Whatever my passion was, or wherever I wanted to go, that's where they wanted me to be.
But you went to obviously university, and with that concentration in phys ed and mathematics, and was that where you discovered poker?
Once I finished 4 years at university, I never used my university degree. I never taught a single day other than my teaching rounds. I had a massive HEX debt, which is what we call the student loan debt, after 4 years as well. And, I was kind of just floating around from jobs to jobs. I did some accounting and things like that.
You didn't even apply to be a teacher?
No.
You were just like, I can't do this.
No, it was... I knew it wasn't.
I mean, were you having an existential crisis over the fact that you had just poured all this, money into a degree that you weren't going to use? I mean, that's got to be scary.
I'm not sure. I don't think you can always put a price on your education anyway. I don't feel like the things that I learned would be wasted in life anyway. And as it happens, I kind of do use some of the skills that I learned in university now. So I think that life... you don't always have to follow the path just because it seems like that's where, you should be heading because of what you've done. You can always change direction if you need to.
So, I guess the idea, people will think Hachem wins and all of a sudden everyone in Australia is paying attention to poker.
Right.
But you had been playing cards as a kid, right?
Yeah, and I didn't actually even know about poker when Joe won the World Series. I mean, I knew about draw poker, which I would occasionally play with my grandparents, but we played more things like 500 or euchre and card games like that with my nan and pop. But I didn't really find poker till, I think it was late 2008.
Okay, so the poker boom had happened.
Yes.
Had almost left.
Yes.
I think UIGA at least happened at that point. And now you're just getting into poker, huh?
Right. My husband was invited to a poker game with mates. And because I've always grown up playing cards and I'm competitive in the sporting kind of way, not that I consider poker a sport, but, I like that kind of competitive environment, or board games or anything like that. I wanted to go and play this Texas Hold'em that he was talking about playing, but they said that no girls were allowed to play and poker's for guys only, really.
Did that make you just want to play more?
Yeah, for sure. I was like that. Oh, yeah, that's not going to happen. And to be honest, he used to go to this game every Sunday night, and I used to get online and research the game. And then, because I knew that I would wear them down after a while with my nagging, because women can nag pretty well. And they finally let me come to the game. And I didn't win that night, but I think I came like third or something.
Oh, it was like a sit and go or something like that?
Yeah, we just played like sit and goes. It wasn't cash games, so we just played sit and goes.
Yeah, I always ask if you won your first session, because usually if it goes poorly, you don't come back.
No, but I fell in love with the game immediately. And playing, or I wasn't actually even playing online before that point. I was just messing around, researching hands and, just studying it. So
wrapping your head around all of it.
Yeah, but once I got there and I saw that there was more elements to just the cards, and there was, the bluffing side of things and reading people and intuition and all those sorts of things, I just fell in love with the game straight away, and I've never looked back.
I think the first major cash we have for you is back in 2008. And then, a couple years later, you're in Vegas.
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly. I was really lucky. We were on a holiday in Bali, and we were like 3 days out of coming home, and I was working for the car company at the time, and I just was dreading going back to work, and I just said to my husband, I'm just going to quit when we get back. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I just don't know. I know that this is not what I want to do, and I can't find another job while I'm working 70 hours a week. It's
what was
too
the
hard.
worst part about the job? Just you weren't passionate about it?
Yeah, I just wasn't passionate about it.
Or you don't want somebody to set your hours for you? Or
No, I wasn't. I just wasn't passionate about it. I wasn't getting up in the morning and, I dreaded going to work every day. I hated it. So he said, that's fine, take a break. And I started going into Crown playing cash games, just low limit cash games. And the first month, after a month, Jamie was like, how's the job hunting going? And I'm like, it hasn't really been going that well. But and I showed him, I kept a spreadsheet of everything. Even if I paid for parking or if I paid for a water at the table, I kept that's the mathematical side of me.
Yeah.
I kept everything on a spreadsheet. And I said, but this is what I've earned in the month compared to the 70-hour job with the company car. And it was a really great month.
Yeah.
Playing low stakes cash, just grinding it. And he's like, we'll just keep doing that until you no longer are making money.
Yeah.
Because obviously and 3 months later.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
3 months later, it was still going really well. And I think about 4 months in, I had a really bad month, and I was like, that's it. I'm going to have to start job hunting again. And it turned around again, but I don't know how. I was just lucky. I was on the good side of variance early. I never suggest anyone to do what I did. I was so inexperienced and just.
I mean, you say that, but there had to have been a natural skill that you found yourself. I mean, you couldn't just run good for 3 months.
I mean, you can. You can run bad for 3 months. If you can run bad for 3 months, you can run good for 3 months.
It's a lot easier to run bad for 3 months than good for 3 months.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have any skills, but I was definitely not at the stage where I should be playing full time. And I was just lucky that the run good, or I was just on the good side of variance for that early kind of 6 months. Bought me the time to. It was a really steep learning curve, so I learnt really quickly. Obviously, when you're spending that much time at the tables, I was doing it full time, you learn really quickly, and it bought me the time to get better a lot faster than it would someone like a recreational player that was, playing 1 or 2 nights a week.
I mentioned you made the first trip out to Vegas in 2010 for the series. Was that your first summer here?
I think my first summer here might have actually been 2009, but I didn't play any World Series events. I think it was 2009, and we came more for a holiday, and we were here for like 2 weeks, and wanted to check it out,
see the sights and see a show.
Yeah.
But what was your impression of the World Series prior to that point? I'm thinking back to the World Series of Poker before Hachem, and the Australian people that come to mind are like Billy the Croc.
Yeah.
Who I think is Greek. He might not even be
Yeah.
Australian.
No, he's Australian. But
And
yeah,
then Mel Judah, who was Indian, basically. Do you guys count Jeff Lissandra, who's Italian?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
These guys were there before Hachem, but, not that many people were making the 20-hour flight.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of Australians back then, that were well known that were here, but I still think there was still a large Australian community, but they possibly weren't, of the standard of these guys or making the runs that these guys were making. I still think that there were Aussies out here. We've got a big community of poker players, obviously thanks to Joe Hachem. I was also really lucky early on in my career that Joe really took me under his wing as well, which is really nice, and I try and pay that back as much as I can to new up-and-coming players. I'm never frightened.
What did you learn from Joe? He just kind of showed you the ropes, or?
Yeah, he gave me some really sound advice, told me just not to be so trusting of people.
Yeah, these are the people you need to avoid.
It's kind of. I mean, it wasn't so much that. It was just, he saw what sort of person I am. I don't come from this world, and I just, being, suddenly found myself in it. And, I trust people until they give me a reason not to trust them, but I've learned that that's not necessarily a great thing in this industry.
No, that seems like a way to get burned.
Right, right. And, I'm lucky enough that I never had any really bad experiences, but someone kind of telling me just to be a little careful and wary of people and, just probably made me a little bit more cautious. But also, too, he always spoke to me and encouraged me, and it's always, he's kind of always been in my corner from the very start, which is good.
2010, made a deep run in the main event, cash for about $31K. The next year, you win a Venetian deep stack event. Then you go back home, do very well at the Melbourne Poker Championship.
It's a funny story, that championship.
Yeah?
So the first event of the Melbourne Champs, I think I had a second in that event. And at that point, you see these results, like the deep run and winning the Venetian, but poker has a lot of overheads along the way, when you're traveling, and I've always been wary of it. I don't go around bawling and,
Well, you're down a buy-in before you even get to Vegas.
Right.
Just on the flight alone.
And I said to my husband that I was going to win the Melbourne Champs, and if I didn't win it, that we weren't going to Vegas and I was going to go find a job.
Whoa, that could have been a major financial...
Right, and I came second in the first event, and he said, I think we should go, like, you've got the second, the funds are there. And I said to him, no, we're not going unless I win the main event. And then I won it. And it's kind of like some really great results came off the back of that.
Yeah, so you finish runner-up, and then you win for about a total of $135,000. Take that money to Vegas that summer.
Yeah.
You finished second in a $3K No Limit Hold'em event for $459,000.
Yeah, that's a heartbreak of my poker career, that event.
In the moment, okay, so you don't get the bracelet at that moment. You finish runner-up, but that's $500,000 in your pocket. I mean...
I cried for 3 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I was devastated.
Well, take me back. Let me pull up the tournament. Take me back. Who was your opponent, and what was the situation? Did you have the heads-up chip lead?
Greg Oberstrand. I'm not sure.
Oberstrand.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice guy. When we got heads up, I did have the chip lead, and I was running, not running well, but I was in a really positive frame of mind, and they asked us if we wanted to come back the next day and play the heads up or to continue playing. I wanted to continue playing, and at that point, Joe Hachem and Gavin Smith were in the booth with Dave Tuckman. And Gavin Smith came down and said to Greg, you should keep playing. She'll be tired and inexperienced kind of player.
Yeah.
And then Greg agreed to play. We went on a toilet break, and I came back and I was sitting at the table, and Joe made a comment to Gavin Smith saying, she's going to absolutely crush him. She's like so much better than he is, and she's going to crush him.
Little Joe versus Gavin in the booth.
Yeah, and then Gavin said, really? And he's like, yeah, she's a really good player. And then he ran back out and said to Greg, stop play. So
Greg's like, you know what? I'm feeling kind of tired.
This is like the biggest moment in my poker career at this point too. But Greg did offer to split the money as well at that point, and just play for the bracelet. We're
talking about an extra $300,000 on top, so $150K. And
I refused the split, and then he was like, "We'll come back the next day," and I was like, that's terrible, because I wasn't that I was nervous. I was obviously excited, and I didn't sleep, and we came back the next day, and I feel like he kind of gave up. There was a hand where I raised with like pocket eights or something like that, and he raised and I re-raised him, and he just called, and he hardly had any blinds left at this point with 6 deuce, and the flop came out like deuce 10 or something like that, and it kind of went in, and then it kind of just, you know how you feel it slipping away, and it just momentum just changed, and you feel it in your gut, and it just got away from me. And then we both, I had 2 pair, and he had a straight in the end when he had me covered at that point.
So you had to get cooled off for the rest of it too.
Yeah, and I just.
So yeah, I could see why that one might take 3 days to recover from. What about these days when you take a beat? Is it that brutal for you? Or have you learned to shake it off?
No, beats are just worse when they're for bracelets, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I guess special circumstance will dictate it, right?
Yeah. I brushed myself off pretty well these days.
But, this was your first real big spot. To have the confidence of turning down the chop there, also chops are illegal at the World Series, guys. Just everyone knows that.
Right.
But yeah, obviously that was a bittersweet situation. But then you went deep in the main event again, another big run.
Yeah.
And then the next summer, Last Woman Standing, was that the title?
Yeah.
2013 World Series of Poker main event. You make a really deep run, 31st place for $229,000. Was there crying in that one too, or?
Yeah, girls are allowed to cry.
I mean, boys are allowed to cry. I just had shout out to Adam Friedman. I had him on the podcast a couple episodes ago. So, boys can cry in poker too.
Yeah, I mean,
Greg Merson, Matt Affleck. There's been some occasions.
Straight after the bus, I went to the toilet, so I had a few tears, and then I dried my eyes, and I came back out for my, post-bus interview. And then brushed myself off again.
Yeah, but like, at that point, are you like, wow, I made a really great run. I'm really proud of my play. Or are you just like, I was this close?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely proud. And I think that the years then at that point of not patting yourself on the back enough for the kind of achievements that you do make, because you bust from so many tournaments and you don't run deep in so many tournaments. But then when you do make a deep run, you kind of need to take that moment and go, you know what, I'm patting myself on the back for that, and actually gonna savor the moment and enjoy it.
Well, there's 2 sides of the coin. There's the positive side of that, right, which is that way of looking at it. Oh, wow, this is so rare. I should really appreciate that. And then there's the other side of the coin, which is, wow, this is so rare. I wish I'd gone deeper.
Of course. I think though that not enough poker players practice gratitude, and we get to live some amazing experiences and go to some amazing places.
Right.
And poker's brought so much to my life to be grateful for that, I've stopped kind of beating myself up about, not winning. Cause
at the end of the day, it's playing a game for a living. So pretty sweet
cool.
life.
It's very cool.
Then, later that year, let's go back to Europe, World Series Europe. You win the ladies event. And you get the gold bracelet.
It's so funny. I think that could have been my first ladies event that I ever played. I never played it at the World Series up until that point either. There was always an event on like a 3K or a 5K.
So this wasn't a moral stance or anything like that. This was like just wasn't in the mood.
No, it wasn't a moral stance. There were better structured tournaments on them the same day and with better prize pools that...
I was actually talking about this with some ladies in the ladies event this summer, which you went deep in. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But they ran the ladies event this summer right up against the Monster Stack, I believe it was, or one of the maybe Millionaire Maker. But it was a situation where I thought, well, they're two similar buy-ins. I feel like people would rather play the deeper structured tournament, and it kind of hurt the ladies event numbers.
The ladies event now compared to back then is structured so much better. Like it's amazing now that they have a single re-entry as well.
Yeah.
So the numbers are bigger, the prize pool's bigger, the structure's better. So, your starting stack's better, everything's better about it. So, and I love playing it. I don't actually, you hear people talking about it being a softer field and why wouldn't you play it? I don't consider the ladies event a softer field at all. Like, I think it's a tough field. We have so many fantastic female poker players that might not necessarily play full-time. Doesn't mean that they don't understand the game and aren't great players. They just haven't got a name for themselves. There's some tough female poker players out there that you would never have heard of.
Right.
But I just love playing the ladies event because I love the community of women now and how supportive they are of each other. I think when I first
but I feel
started...
like for a lot of people, that event is like the gateway for them to get into the series. For a lot of women, that's the first series event they'll ever play.
Yeah,
and then it'll
maybe
lead
the
to
only,
more.
possibly.
And maybe the only if it's a bad experience, for sure. So in my mind, they should schedule it isolated so that it's the focused on event, so that every woman available can play in it and celebrate that aspect of it, rather than being tempted by the Millionaire Maker.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's running nearby. But obviously,
I think that a lot of women do prioritize it now. I mean, I get that they might be a little torn, but I think at the end of the day, they're still entering the ladies event. And when I look at the schedule, I'm like, okay, I'm not playing day one of this event the day before the ladies event because I don't want to make day two of it because I want to play the ladies. It's actually a priority for me to play it. And even if there is a temptation to play an event the day before or on the same day, the ladies event wins out. I think most times. I don't think you would find a lot of ladies playing similar buy-ins in other tournaments other than that event now.
Well, let me ask you about the bracelet. I always ask people, where do they keep it?
It's actually just shoved in a cupboard.
Shoved in a cupboard? That's a common answer.
Is it?
Yeah.
I feel bad about it.
Some people, obviously nobody wears their bracelet around. That would just be a little weird. But, there are some people who make a trophy out of it or put it in a case or something.
No, it's not even on a shelf.
Yeah.
So,
is it still in the box like it came in,
Yeah. I'm super proud of it and I love that I have it. But look, I'm going to say something that's probably going to cause some controversy.
Ooh, a hot take. I like it.
I don't think...
This is going to be the headline of the article.
I'm not necessarily sure that an event that isn't an open event should be a bracelet event. And while I'm so proud of my bracelet, because I feel like it came from an event where not everyone can enter, and I kind of feel that with a lot of the high rollers as well, the seniors, ladies. If it's kind of not really accessible to majority of the poker community, then possibly it shouldn't.
You want an asterisk next to your bracelet?
Possibly. That sounds like I've got one, so I don't want everyone commenting that that's like a shit thing to say. But
no, on the opposite hand, you have one, and yet you're devaluing it. So
I'm not devaluing how I feel about winning it. I'm so proud of myself winning it.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure a bracelet should have been awarded. It could be a trophy, World Series trophy or, whatever. But, I think the bracelets, I feel like they're maybe getting a little bit diluted. And especially with a lot of the events even this year, possibly, there's bracelets flying everywhere. Like you line up at Starbucks and the 7 diamond line is longer than the normal line.
Well, we could comment on this year's World Series of Poker schedule. There's 89 total events, so that alone is crazy, right? That's almost 90 bracelets being handed out. 9 of which are strictly online,
right?
And many of which that have a buy-in of between $500 and $900, which is not something that we've seen in years past, outside of a couple of events,
right?
So the bracelet might not
have the same prestige, maybe.
Or maybe not all bracelets are created equal. I could buy that.
Well, no, they're not all created equal, obviously. But, saying that, I think it's great that the World Series has so many events and it's so accessible to so many people on so many different budgets. But
Right,
should
it's
it
almost
be
like
a bracelet?
5 series in one, right?
All events don't need to be bracelet events. I mean, we've got all the daily deep stacks and, let's maybe...
Every circuit player gets a ring when they win,
fine.
even if it's a $300 buy-in or a 1K buy-in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much people value the ring, but, a bracelet, people come to Vegas like, oh, I would love to win a World Series bracelet, and now nearly half the population has one. No, that's not, obviously that's an exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying. They're everywhere.
All right, let's talk about poker in Australia. What does that look like today?
It's actually really healthy. I mean, we've always had... Australians in general are very social people. So while we're all super disappointed that we can't play online at the moment, Australians love being out playing live as well because we're friendly, chatty kind of social people. It's pretty good. And especially, at the recreational level, it's really healthy. We've got the Australian Poker League that does an amazing job. You wouldn't have to drive probably in most places, more than 15 minutes to get to a game on, most nights of the week. So
it's not like just one big casino in Melbourne and that's it. You have options.
Yeah, you have a lot of options. And even with the Australian Poker League, it's not just, they just don't hold small games, $20 buy-in. Then they have their, their monthly state champs which are, $250 kind of dollar. They still have stuff going on for the recreational player that fills in the gaps kind of, so you don't have to make that transition.
Events,
yes.
The events people start off with.
Yeah.
The dip your toe events.
But too, you'll find that in this league that the women are making up almost 20% of the field as well. So
that's high.
It's super high.
That's super high.
And then once you get to casino level,
the main event of the World Series is 5% or something like that.
Less.
At best.
It's less. So you kind of see what's going wrong that these women aren't transitioning to bigger games. And maybe it's they don't want to, but the fact is that these games that the Poker League, Australian Poker League are putting on, are all inclusive, and women are made to feel really welcome, and it's a safe, fun environment for them to play poker, and they're not going to lose a lot of money playing either.
So what do you think is going to happen with online?
I'm not sure. It's a shame.
There's a lot of similarities between the U.S. and Australia when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's tough, and I was with Party Poker when we lost online as well, so therefore I cannot do my job anymore with that sponsorship, and I've been super lucky to have some great sponsorships in the past, but poker's so tough now without it. It's just. It's tough because we don't have online, and then I'm so far away from everywhere. Nothing's a short flight.
It's a 20-hour flight to get to Vegas.
Yeah, I'm in Melbourne.
I've never made that flight. Yeah. I've done 13 hours, and that almost killed me. It almost killed me, Jackie. You understand? You do this regularly.
Yeah.
If this was 100 years ago, you would have been trapped on that island. You know
right.
what
I mean, it's not a bad island to be trapped on. I have to admit. But being a professional poker player in Australia at the moment is tough. We still have some great games in the casinos, but there's not enough of them. And when you can't play online, you have to start thinking, how am I going to make a living?
Have you been tempted to make the move? I know, obviously, your husband has a say in that.
Yeah, my husband travels a lot as well. So,
at this point, you're more of a citizen of the world anyway, right?
It feels like that most times. But saying that, I love Australia, and I've got family and friends there, and I would never live anywhere else in the world. I would rather stop playing poker.
Let's talk about your travels. Best trip you took not for poker, and best poker trip.
Oh, it's tough. I think...
You're telling me you were just in Cuba and Bali? I'm like, I don't think you were playing poker over there.
No, I actually, I had a little bit of time before I came here just to decompress after the long flight, and I did Mexico like Playa del Carmen and Tulum, and then Cuba. It's only like a 45-minute flight from Cancun to Cuba. So I went and checked that out before coming to Vegas. But great experience Cuba was. But I think Italy is probably like my favorite place in the world. That's probably because I really like food, probably too much, and it's really good there.
Any specific city or?
I really love the Tuscany area.
Okay.
And not the touristy areas either. We stay in an Airbnb in small villages and kind of just hang out
out
with.
of wine country or?
Yeah, well, like I love wine, so But yeah, we stay in small villages and just try and immerse ourselves in the culture when we're there. And then the best poker trip. It was probably. There was a thing called the International Federation of Poker, and they had this big event in London, and we played it on the London Eye. There was a table in every pod of the London Eye.
That answers another question I have. The weirdest place you ever played poker. So the Eye is, for people who don't know, it's kind of like the Ferris wheel in Vegas.
Yeah.
If I could equate it to anything, I think it's bigger than the one in Vegas.
It's massive.
But yeah, it's enough that you could put a poker table in each pod, obviously.
So,
and you played there as it went all the way around, right?
Yeah, as it went around, and it was trying to show that poker was more of a mind sport. So they had pre-stacked decks in every pod, and seat one got the same cards as seat one in the next pod and the next pod.
So
and the next
you weren't necessarily playing poker against people at your table. You were playing against the other seat one.
Yes, every
other seat one in the tournament.
Yes.
And whoever did the best with the same cards.
Right.
That's interesting.
It was interesting. And there were some amazing, like the best players in the world. I'll show you the sheet one day, but there were players that would blow your mind. Every table was just stacked. So every country got to pick their, 7 representatives, and it was all expenses paid, so they were all flown over there. It was amazing.
That sounds like a great poker trip.
It was great.
Let's talk about James, your husband.
Yes.
So he is a sports psychologist?
He's not a accredited sports psychologist. He's
a golf whisperer?
Yes, the golf whisperer. That's what he is. That's a great term. Yeah, it's a little different. He has a lot of accreditations. I should really know these things better, but like neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, like life coach and all those kinds of things. But it's more practical things for golfers to do to make them better mentally on and off the course.
I have to imagine that is both a blessing and a curse when it comes to poker. Such a mental sport, if you can call it a sport. Is it helpful?
Yeah, it's definitely helpful. Or are you just
like, I don't want to hear it right now.
We schedule a session like I would if I was one of his clients. So if I feel like I need some work on an area, we sit down and we have it, like we separate our marriage from that situation, and we'll sit down and we'll chat about things, and we never ever talk when emotions are high. So if I've come home and I'm just like
tilted,
he knows that that's the point where he just needs to be my husband and hug me, and he's not allowed to ask me how focused I was at the table, or did I reset after the hand, or we don't do that. We just schedule it at a time where it's not so emotional. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be married.
But he mostly works with golfers, right?
Yes, but
fix my shanks, please.
Yeah, he's worked with a lot of poker players as well. Like that's initially how he worked with Joe Hachem for a while, and but he finds poker players, it's not his favorite people to work with. They just go off the rails a little bit too much, and I think that they think by seeing him that it's just going to fix things, and they don't actually have to put the things into practice that he's talking to them about. So yeah.
We brought up golf, obviously. You've been playing a lot of golf lately. how's your game looking these days?
It's so tough. Well, you say I play a lot. I love the game. And
I mean, every time I see you on social media, you're posting from a course.
Right.
So.
But then I haven't picked up a golf club now for more than 2 months. And then I'll get home and I'll play like 3 days in 1 week and I'll post the pictures from that. But it's really tough because golf is one of those games you really do need to practice and
right.
Yeah,
but you can get 4 days in a row out there. That 5th day, okay, yeah. Now it's locked in.
Yeah, I love the challenge of it, and I love that it's outdoors. When you play poker, you're trapped indoors, and most likely you don't have any windows or anything like that. So golf is one of those things where you can get out and just relax if you can relax on the golf course.
Yeah, well, I was about to ask, like, what are the wild animal situation like in Australia when it comes to golfing? I'm from Florida, so we had to deal with alligators, but you basically just waved the stick at them. They went back in the water. And here, I think we have a rabbit problem out in Vegas, but nothing too scary.
So we live on a golf course, and we back onto the actual course. So our back fence is more like a country-style fence, and you can see through it, and we get kangaroos all in our kind of backyard. Even though people used to ask, do you have a kangaroo in your backyard? And I used to go, that's such a stupid question. But I actually do now, so I can say, yes, I do. We get snakes, a lot of snakes out on the course.
That's a deal breaker for me. I saw a photo of you, like, picking one out of a bunker, and I was like, nope.
It was dead.
Oh, okay, but still.
Yeah, there was another one that I was hoping it was dead, and I grabbed it behind its neck, or behind its head, and I was just praying that it didn't move because it looked like it wasn't moving, so I was hoping it was dead, but there was nothing on its body to indicate that it was dead. And then
is the whole wild animal thing a stereotype that I shouldn't be asking you about?
No. I mean, the fact is, where I live, I've had a snake in our backyard, and there have been snakes on the course that you just avoid them. But then, we've got kangaroos and, we've got a lot of rabbits, actually, unfortunately. They shoot them every Monday out on the course.
Oh, Monday is rabbit killing day.
Yeah.
I just got a text notification back when I lived in Miami, 13, 12 years ago, whatever it was. I noticed we were getting a lot of iguanas.
Right.
And just this morning I got a news notification that popped up that says homeowners in Florida are being encouraged to kill all the iguanas that keep sprouting out.
Wow. So that's the difference. In Australia, I can have a snake in my backyard that is poisonous or deadly, and I am not allowed to kill it because it's protected.
But rabbits are okay.
Apparently. Well, I'm not allowed to really kill the rabbits either. They're actual rabbit shooter people that come out.
Okay.
We don't all come out with our guns because we don't really have guns.
Or golf clubs.
In Australia. But, no, we're not. Yeah, so if you were found to have killed a snake that was even in your backyard, even if it was like, threatening your dog or...
Wow.
You're supposed to call the snake catcher, and he comes out and he puts it into a Hessian bag and takes it and puts it somewhere else.
Snake catcher. That's a job wouldn't want.
Yeah, we called one out one day and he didn't even catch it and he still charged me. And I thought, that's a great job. I'm going to pretend I'm a snake catcher and just go out to people's places and go, nah, sorry.
Yeah, you must have imagined it.
That'll be $100, thank you.
Here's my appearance fee. Let's talk about Survivor.
Ah, yes, okay.
Ironically enough, okay, so I saw season 1 of regular Survivor here. What do we call our Survivor? I don't even know.
Survivor.
Just Survivor. And ironically, it came on last night after a Hulu episode had ended. And I was like, oh, I remember this. And I got into it. I was like, oh, I remember Richard. He wins season 1. And then I got into it. I remember watching a little bit of JRB's season. Yep. But you need to walk me through what a Survivor looks like now. I know you were in Fiji?
Yeah, we were in Fiji. It was tough, And I was in the worst shape of my life when I actually got invited to go on the show. I didn't apply, but I was in the worst physical shape of my life, which also leads to probably a bad mental state as well. That kind of goes hand in hand. And I was actually thinking about not accepting the offer because I just didn't really want to put myself out there in that situation. but I've thought about it.
How big is the show in Australia? Like everyone watches it,
yeah,
right?
it's big. We just won a Logie. That's like our, TV awards.
Yeah,
for
your daytime Emmy
it won the most outstanding reality TV program in Australia. Just that was our season that we just did that they got the Logie for. So, it's a top rating show.
You put yourself out there.
Yes.
And it's not like you're in hair and makeup every day.
I don't care about that stuff anyway. I'm kind of a little,
Let's see, you finished, you voted off 11th of the 24.
Yeah,
you were there for 26 days?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And the thing is that there's a lot of editing that goes on as well. I don't think they showed me in the best light. Our team was kind of all like the nice guys, and I think that possibly the lying poker player made a good villain. So they really hit it hard.
Well, I read that you didn't tell them you were a poker player.
No.
But you were brought on for that reason, I'm guessing.
Right. So I was on a team of champions, so I had to be a champion in something.
Oh, okay.
So I told them I was Australia's fastest Rubik's Cube.
I see.
Solver.
You are wearing a Rubik's Cube shirt.
Yeah, I can do two sides and that's about it.
Wait, you can't even do it for real?
No, I can't do it at all.
I thought this was like a hidden skill you had.
No.
Because you had to prove it or something on the show or anything.
No.
I guess if you don't have a Rubik's Cube, how can they call you out on it?
Right. And it's such a boring thing. Like, they'll ask a few questions and I researched it a lot before I went in there. So I knew... And I never went in there. I wasn't a professional Rubik's Cube champion because I think, I don't know, you get a slab of Coca-Cola if you win the event.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think you can make a living being a Rubik's Cube champion.
No, there's not a lot of money in that.
Yeah, I made up that I had a sponsorship with a cube brand and... Yeah, I knew who
was your cover story.
I knew who the world champion was. I knew what the fastest time was. I researched all those kind of questions. So I was...
Well, you got to be able to execute the bluff properly.
Right. And no one even knew about it. And even once we left the show, one of the contestants sent me a message, and she still hadn't obviously Googled anything, but she bought her two kids a Rubik's Cube and was asking me I've got to show them how to do it when we catch up. And I'm like, you do understand I'm actually not.
It was kind of like that Vanessa Russo reveal on Big Brother where I think people kind of got the sense she was a poker player towards the end, but... No
one had a clue whatsoever. I carried it off. That's the biggest bluff I've probably ever played. I carried it off. I think it was 27 days. On the 27th day I left. But it was, I carried that through the whole way. But there's only so many questions you can ask about that as well.
Yeah, it's a nice wrapped up story. And then it puts you in a good light, too, because people are like, oh, she's clever.
Right. And I was physically unfit. I thought it would keep me away from climbing walls and things, and they would put me at the end where the puzzle is all the time. But then I failed miserably at one of the puzzles. Well, I didn't. I had a partner with me, but they were relying on me to do the puzzle. But actually, that was edited a lot. The other team was 3/4 of the way through the puzzle by the time I got my puzzle pieces.
Well, they got to keep up the drama.
Right. But anyway, yeah, so then it kind of was like, oh, man, that could get me in trouble. I am really good at puzzles, though, but... I failed
As
in
most
one of them.
poker players are.
I failed in one of them, and then it was like, oh, damn, I hope I'm not going to come unstuck here. But obviously.
The tribe basically saw you as a threat and got rid of you?
Yeah, I think, it was hard. I was on a team of mainly sports champions, and they put so much emphasis on the physical component of the game, and a lot of them weren't even Survivor fans. They didn't even understand the social side of the game or anything like that. So I was kind of, I was fighting
you gotta
from
make alliances.
Yeah, I was fighting from
people
day one, but
What about the food?
The food's like terrible. I couldn't eat it. I love food, but it's not that I'm hungry. I like good food. I like eating a bowl of like a cup of rice 2 meals a day with some black beans that needed to be soaked for 24 hours to even be edible.
Right, they're hard as a rock when you get them.
It was pretty tough. So, but saying that, I actually never really felt hungry there, but I've just missed things, missed smashed avo on toast kind of thing in the morning. I didn't want to eat rice in the morning.
So avocado toast is big even in Australia.
It's really. I think this is where it's come from. Avocado toast was it's been there forever.
All right, we have some rapid fire questions to close out, if you don't mind. As soon as I figure out where I put them, there they are. Okay, biggest pot you've ever won or lost. Your choice.
I've got no idea. Seriously?
It can be equity in a tournament too, I guess.
Well, let's just say when I lost that bracelet in the 3K, that was the biggest one I've ever lost. And when I came 31st in the main event, I folded kings pre-flop to Chris Treba, who had aces, and we were both really, really deep, and he had more chips than me. And I ended up making the fold. And to be honest, I think it was a 6-bet pot. And then
you folded kings pre?
Yeah.
And did he show you?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So maybe that's the biggest one I've probably won, because that kind of took me on to 31st, which not only the money, but I secured a sponsorship from that as well. So, it wasn't just it wasn't just the money. It was a lot of things.
Man, I have never been in a spot where I folded kings and been right.
It's
I've been in plenty of spots where I went, oh, he's got aces, I'm in. I call anyway. But I've never been in a spot where I was so sure I could make that fold.
Right.
It's almost like poker players look for the excuse to go broke with it.
Well, it's a story. Mm-hmm. I had kings and I had aces. It was a cooler. But it's funny because we'd been on dinner break before that hand, and I think it was maybe day 4 of the tournament, so we were kind of deep, and he tweeted something about that he was on the table with me, and I just knew, and he didn't, there was no collusion or anything like that, but he went all in, and I was like, I think I don't know. You know how you feel like someone's telling you they've got aces?
Yeah.
He wasn't telling me, obviously. He wants to win the tournament, but...
There was some part of him that didn't want to see you bust. And it came through in his eyes.
Possibly. I don't know what it was. He comes up to me. We talk about it all the time. He still can't believe that I folded. Because all the cameras were there, and I just folded and into the muck. I didn't fold them face up. And then he's like, you really didn't fold kings, did you? And I was like, yes. And, yeah.
It's probably one of those spots where when he went all in, he was probably like, well, I guess she's got a call. If she's got what
it was
she
a 6-bet pot. It was I had Timoshenko on the table as well, who had opened. And it just, I knew he had the aces. And I know this sounds bad, probably another tournament, I'd probably just call. But, this is the main event.
I saw Rene Angelil, Celine Dion's late husband, fold kings pre-flop, and he was right.
Yeah.
That was the only other time I'd seen it in person.
I've never done it before, and I've never done it after.
I wouldn't be looking for a spot to do it again,
no.
For sure. Best swap or piece you've ever had of anybody?
That would be Heidi May when she won the ladies' bracelet, not last year, the year before. We swapped, and I had a terrible year that year where I think I bricked everything, and she was my biggest cash for the whole series. It wasn't a massive amount, but it was the biggest.
Way to go, Heidi!
It was the biggest.
A little bit of a rebate.
Yeah, it was the biggest cash of my series. It was kind of just got me out of a little bit of trouble.
Best poker player we've never heard of. You could shout out maybe an Aussie who doesn't get that much credit.
That we've never heard of.
Not never. I just mean somebody who should be getting more love.
I don't think the person that I would shout out would want the love. Those people that they're under the radar for a reason.
Yeah.
To be honest, we have so many great poker players, and I'm not just saying this. We just don't get the same media coverage as a player in the
Well, let me
States.
personally shout out an Aussie who had a great night last night, Mr. Robert Campbell.
Yes. He's a mixed game player mostly, and
he is crushing
when he
summer.
won his first bracelet, I made a tweet that it was so overdue because he is so amazing.
Yeah, Robert last night he won the 10K stud 8 or better for $385,000. And earlier this summer, he won the 1,500 triple draw for another $150. He also has a 7th, a 5th, and an 8th this summer. So
he's a really great player. Were the other cashes in mixed games as well?
Yeah, mixed Omaha, PLO 8 or better, Raz, Omaha 8 or better, Dealer's Choice, stud,
He's
horse.
he's like the Adam Friedman of Australia, really.
There
isn't
he is, yeah.
Yeah.
They got a similar look too.
Yeah. He's a really humble, just down to earth guy as well.
Yeah.
So.
And Joe had a good week too. Joe made the final table of the 10K PLO 8.
Yeah, came third.
So go Team Australia. Australia's actually my my 4th biggest listener. Group.
Really?
So you know.
Well, hey everyone in Australia.
We'll get a little bit of a bump having you on in Australia. All right. What was the worst job you had before poker? You can even go back to your teens.
Yeah, I had a lot. I used to work in a bakery kind of place, but they sold like sausage rolls and things like that. Do you know what a sausage roll is? It's very big in Australia.
It's where the sausage is baked into like a croissant kind of thing.
It's like a sausage meat, and then they put like a pastry around it.
Yeah.
So like a corn dog, but kind of it's sausage mince.
Flakier.
It's sausage mince inside too. It's gross. And I used to be out the back, and they used to make me clean out these big vats where they'd been mixing all, like I was like the dishwasher out there. I was like 14 years old, and I used to do that so I could pay for an extra tennis lesson a week. And pretty much what I earned all day just paid for a half-hour tennis lesson.
Oh, that's so brutal.
Yeah, at a 14-year-old, you know what you get paid compared to a tennis
Working
coach.
4 hours for half an hour.
It was even more probably out there.
That's crazy. Well, you know, the work ethic helps, I guess.
Yeah, and my parents paid for one private lesson with the coach and a group lesson with the coach, and I wanted more coaching, so yeah, they told me to go get a part-time job if I wanted.
Good lesson to the kids out there who should not be listening to this podcast.
That was the worst job, yes.
If you want something, go out and work for it. If not for poker, what would you be doing?
I think I would maybe own a cafe or something.
Would you actually cook, or would you just run the show?
Yeah, I think I would cook in it.
Breakfast or kind of like a...
breakfast, and then I would probably host like a night once a month.
What's an Australian breakfast look like?
Smashed avocado on toast.
Well, obviously avocado toast is universal. That's global right there.
Yeah.
Do you guys do beans for breakfast?
No,
That's
not
just an
really.
English thing, right?
Yeah, poached eggs are popular, but yeah, kind of just healthy, clean type breakfasts are really popular. Things like acai bowls and that, we have all those sort of things, but they're just not as popular. Most people are ordering the smashed avo on toast, but you know we do it right with some really good quality feta and some arugula or rocket, we call it in Australia.
What do you call it?
Rocket, it's called.
Arugula is called rocket?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I had a list of, like, Aussie slang terms pulled up, and I was laughing at some of them.
And we call the fanny, instead of a bum, it's actually the vagina in Australia.
Yes. I had I had heard about this one. The one I was laughing at. I pulled up this page, and it just says 125 Australian slang words and phrases, and it's in alphabetical. So one of the first ones is... how Aussies refer to the band AC/DC.
Mm-hmm. Is Akadaka?
Akadaka. And I was like, I had never heard Akadaka before in my life. Everyone knows, Barbie and all that stuff. Bogan was the one you pulled up earlier, right?
But a lot of the times, instead of thanks, I say ta, and a lot of Australians will say ta. Oh, ta. That means thanks. Ta. And I say it at the table, and everyone's like, why do you keep saying ta for? It's just TA. TA means thanks in Australia, but everyone thinks I'm saying TAR at the table, and they're like, why do you keep saying the word ta for?
Let me test some of these. Okay. So,
I won't know. I'm
so
sure.
let's say you've had a big meal and you're feeling full. What would you say you are feeling? See, some of these, they can't possibly be true. They say it's chock-a-block.
Oh, chock-a-block, yeah, that's a word, yeah.
That's
chock-a-block.
something?
Oh, chock-a-block. I wouldn't use that term, but if someone said it, I understand what they're saying.
All right, it's an expression for getting really angry at somebody or something. Crack the shits?
Oh, crack the shit. So, do you know, the thing is that there's so many terms I think you need to give me the word and I'll tell you what it means.
Okay, that might be. What does darty mean?
Darty?
Darty.
No,
to be fair, this is used only among Southwest Australian Aboriginal people.
Oh, okay.
But it's been adopted by non-Indigenous teens. Okay, so that one's a tough one. Okay.
Yeah.
What's a dunny?
It's a toilet.
Oh, man. Fuck me dead is pretty slangy to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's the same as saying for fuck's sake, you know?
Yeah, they said it means surprising.
Yeah, like.
Let's do two more here. Legless.
That means you're drunk.
Yes, that one's cool. I gotta use that one in my. That guy's legless.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a good one. And
sometimes they say maggoted.
Maggoted.
Yeah, that means you're drunk as well.
Okay, maggoted, like a maggot.
Yeah, I think so.
I wonder what that. No wuckas.
Just like no worries. I'm doing actually quite well on this. I was like, thinking I'm gonna fail. Told you I was a bogan.
A shark biscuit.
I've got no idea what that is.
Apparently that means children at the beach. Or a shark biscuit.
Right. No, I've not heard that.
I thought that one was a little weird. And let's see here. A tucker.
Tucker, like Tucker?
Yeah.
It's like food?
Yeah, food. I would never have known that one.
Yeah.
Tucker. I'm hungry for some tucker.
I don't think most Australians say a lot of these words, but if someone said them, maybe I'd understand some of them. Yeah.
All right.
Dunny's the best one though.
Dunny, yeah.
And I like to use the word fanny here a lot as well with my husband.
I was going through your Instagram and saw you had a picture where you were talking about the thongs you were wearing.
Right.
And you're talking about your sandals.
Yeah. So we call flip-flop thongs.
Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah. I actually took one to the table on Australia Day and tried to use it as a card protector. Not a thong, like the flip-flop part, not the other one.
You didn't put your underwear on the table.
No.
Although if you want to hear a story about that, listen to Lane Flack's podcast.
Really?
Yes. He was trying to get back at a smoker at the table, so he took off his socks and underwear and put them right next to the cigarettes.
But did you hear about that time the guy entered the ladies' event and he used a tampon as his card protector?
I did not hear that. That's a little unfortunate there.
Yeah, they made him remove it from the table.
Yeah.
It was
a little too far, buddy.
It was clean.
Hopefully. What was your largest non-poker wager?
You know what? I know this sounds really strange, but I'm not a gambler at all. I don't even.
But you have to happen to made one.
No,
bet.
I don't even bet on the Melbourne Cup.
Nothing.
No.
Not one sporting event. Not one prop bet with friends.
No, I mean I bet things like
Can have a survivor last longer?
No, if the ball, I reckon the ball's like a meter from the hole, and then I'll be like, if it's not, I'll pull my skirt down, kind of thing.
That's a fun bet
right,
for you and
yeah.
James
I'm not betting wagers like
anybody
money.
who happens to be watching.
I'd be more likely to be betting some sort of terrible act.
Yeah.
Like you got to run across
closest to the pin
across the green
with
your pants at your ankle, kind of thing.
Do you guys practice the age-old rule? If he doesn't hit it past the ladies' tees, that he has to
buy a jug.
He has to buy a jug.
Yeah.
Oh, here you have to walk with your pants down.
Oh no, you got to when you get back to the clubhouse because Australians like beer. Obviously, you got to buy
a coldie.
Oh yeah, a whole jug of beer you got to buy for your group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here we reserve that for hitting holes in one, but we're cheap, I guess. What is a talent you don't have that you wish you did?
Probably based on my Survivor experience, I wish I could, leap tall buildings in a single bound.
So that was your Achilles heel?
It was definitely. I don't know if there were some very
with these height challenges?
Cringe-worthy spots where I'm stuck on top of walls and things. It was not pretty.
highlight reel. You should put
Yeah,
together
no one
super
make
cut.
that. Yeah.
A super cut of all the challenges.
Yeah.
Headphones on at the table, yes or no?
Me personally, but I don't care if other people do. But if I announce my bet, I don't want you asking me for the fucking second time what I said because you're not listening.
And when you are listening, what are you listening to?
I actually don't listen to a lot of music, and even when I drive the car, I have the radio off.
Completely silent.
Completely silent.
Not even like talk radio podcasts
No.
or anything like that?
Completely off.
Just listening to the sounds of the road.
No, it's just some time where I, have some time to be with my thoughts and things. And I suppose, I'm not adverse to music. If my husband has the radio playing, I'll listen to it. But when I'm in the car on my own, it's off.
Interesting. So do you have a favorite album?
No.
What about movies?
I'm sounding really boring now, aren't I?
Says
Star
the lady
Wars,
who was on TV.
Star Wars, Flash Gordon, some weird geeky things.
Well, you're wearing a Rubik's Cube T-shirt.
Right.
I mean, it wouldn't be completely out of the realm.
Yeah.
So wait, Star Wars. Do you have a favorite Star Wars?
Yeah, just the first three.
Okay. Gun to your head, pick one.
Maybe The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay. All right. I know you can't just pick three. The more I watch it, the more I think Rogue One might be my favorite.
No,
love
you can't
Rogue One
No, you
so
can't go
much.
near any of them.
I understand
The originals.
I understand that they're like fan adaptations of the original trilogy, but they did a good job with that one.
Kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark too.
Well, I also liked Solo, so
Yeah.
who am I? My opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe it was just my thing with Harrison Ford, and I just
Of course.
had a crush on him.
Me and him share a birthday.
Really?
So, yeah.
There you go.
All right. Ready for the end of the podcast?
Yes.
We end the podcast the same way every time, with a question from the random question generator. Are you ready?
Okay. Why am I scared?
It's not loading. It's not loading. It's not loading.
I could sing a song while we wait.
That one I asked yesterday, and that one I've also asked. This is not 1,000 questions.
It can't be that random if it keeps bringing up the same ones.
It says there's 1,000 questions, and I keep getting the same ones. Okay. What from the present will withstand the test of time? Something. Let's stick to your own life.
Yeah.
What's something you're doing today that you feel that you'll be doing when you're in your 80s and 90s?
Practicing gratitude every day.
Okay. Yes, and this is a good lesson for all poker players out there, and a good lesson towards the end of the summer.
Yeah.
As we all look at our depleted bankrolls and.
True, and you know what? It's something that's really saved me in this career as well. But, if I walk into a lovely hotel room, I'm not just dumping my bag and going, standard. I'm jumping on the bed and going, oh, this is amazing. I try and practice gratitude for everything that I have in my life because, I think it makes me a better person and appreciate things and be more empathetic towards people that don't have the same things.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being on
Pleasure.
the podcast.
Pleasure.
That's it. That's the show. Thank you once again to Jackie for coming on the podcast and sharing her stories. You can follow Jackie on Twitter @Jackie Glazier, and you can also follow us on Twitter @CardPlayerMedia or @Poker_stories. Please subscribe, please rate, and please review. If you do all three, let us know about it with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com, and we'll hook you up with a free digital subscription to Card Player Magazine. Until next time, thanks for listening.